Hello and welcome to another empowering episode of Mighty Moms, the show where we celebrate the strength and resilience of mothers who excel in their personal and professional lives. I'm Sarah Roberts, your host, and I'm thrilled to bring you today's inspiring story. You are watching the Achievement Channel, Nigeria's first and only 100% motivational TV station, broadcasting from the School of Eloquence Studio in Ikoyi, here in Lagos. I'm delighted to welcome Mrs. Gwen Abiola-Oloke, founder and CEO of DI Africa, and a highly accomplished leader with a remarkable career spanning banking, SME development, and impact investment. Gwen, we are so happy to have you in the studio today. Today, actually, we want to have a short conversation with you in line with celebrating mothers. Recently, we celebrated the International Women's Day, and we are still celebrating. And not too long ago, it's the Mother's Day. And very soon, we will have another Mother's Day. Women are always being celebrated. But the short conversation I want to have with you today is this year's International Women's Day theme is Accelerate Action. How do you think it applies to motherhood?
Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a very interesting topic. So first of all, I was saying that motherhood is universal. It's not, it's not a vocabulary that is different, in different spaces. And then I want to see motherhood also as going beyond being a biological mother, especially in an African society context. You know? So you have the perception, people just perceive someone in the role of motherhood, either in the church, a society setting, in a community, in certain ecosystems, they just look up to that woman and say, oh, this is our mother, So the accelerate action really is, what can we mothers, irrespective of those settings that we find ourselves, really take on our roles and begin to act those roles. Begin to act the roles in the sense that we understand what our expectations are within those roles. If it's a spiritual motherhood, if it's a biological mother.
A mentor.
But whoever is seen and perceived as a mother, the expectations that you must, present yourself in certain ways, act certain roles, and, deliver certain outcomes from those roles. So basically, how do we ensure that the activities that we're doing in that space or within that perceived role as motherhood are really delivering outcomes and accelerating those outcomes? How can we better facilitate the outcomes that we see? Because really, if you do not facilitate the outcomes, then you don't validate what you're doing. You don't encourage the ecosystem, and people really don't see, that you're adding value. So accelerating here really is accelerating the goals that you set for the roles that you play. So recognizing those roles, understanding the expectations. How do you meet those expectations? What kind of resource do you require? What kind of assistance do you require? What kind of setting do you require to achieve, those roles?
So naturally, what you're trying to say is that a woman, that's the female gender, is naturally a mother and should be ready at any point in time to mother a child, whether it's because there's an adage that a child belongs to the society. So if one stumbles on you at any point in time, you must have the equipment, the arsenal, the tools that are needed to attend to that particular issue that borders around motherhood, to that.
Yes. Yeah, that is one. But like I said, in my perspective, I see motherhood beyond birthing a child.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes you could be a mother to an adult already.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just that role. Somebody looks up to you for care, for nurture, for protection. So that's what we're talking about, the perception. People perceive mothers to be in that role. So for example, a man marries a woman and says, she's like my mother. She's a mother to me. She's a wife to me. there's no biological relationship between them. But because she's already put herself in that role of nurturing. So I talk about societal expectations, you know, and then you see some women that people perceive not to exhibit those roles. They say, oh, she's not a mother. If she was a mother, she wouldn't behave. So I think it's the expectations, and the expectations are being driven by the, you know, perspective that people see mothers. So basically, whatever role you find yourself, you will know when people look up to you as a mother.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You will know, except you're not self-aware. If you're self-aware, you will know that people look up to you. And then their expectations, some are unspoken expectations. You know, how can you match those expectations really? How can you accelerate the outcomes that anyone looking up to you is expecting you to fulfill?
That's huge.
Yes.
That's huge. Women are multifaceted.
Absolutely.
And while others are sleeping, we're not expected to sleep.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, as somebody, you hear a child crying in the middle of the night. I'm saying, where's the mom? You know, it's like you're not supposed to sleep.
You're not supposed to sleep.
You know,
they don't call the father, it's the mom.
Yeah, you know, first call, you know. And I think it's a natural, and I would say to mothers to really embrace it. Because really it's a natural.
It's a wonderful role
it's
and responsibilities
I
that
mean,
God has bestowed upon us.
Not just the humans. If you look at
Animals.
You see who has taught the animal, the female animal, to nurture and care for the you know, siblings. So that's it.
That's great. Interesting.
Yeah.
Gwen, how can the society do more to support mothers and recognize their contributions?
Very interesting, because I think sometimes when the expectations are, you know, mismatched, it leads to people feeling, you know, they are not appreciated. So I think society needs to understand that, you know, mothers can't do this role alone. You know, especially if you have a single mother, they expect the child to still function, and, you know, there are challenges that women face, biological challenges, and so many other challenges. And so the expectations for mothers are not expected to make errors. Oh, why did the mother? So the judgment, you know, there's always this issue around judgment, you know, even when you watch something on social media. So basically, I think we should have a culture of really not making excuses, but really understanding the background for each mother, because a lot of things are influenced. The outcomes that we deliver, the results that we deliver, are really influenced by our backgrounds, the things that we're going through, the barriers that we are going through, challenges that we are going through. And so mothers should be celebrated even where they make errors, because we are still human. And so within an ecosystem or within a community, you know, mothers there should be supported, should be celebrated, and should be assisted, you know, to achieve those goals. And we call on our fathers, our brothers, you know, to always, you know, chip in.
And children. And
the children as well. You know, if it's not a family setting, if it's a communal setting, the community should support, you know, the perceived mother role to be able to achieve.
Once in a while.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. Good. Especially if there are mutual goals to be achieved. You know, the child comes back from school, for example. The mother is busy in the kitchen. You know, if the older sibling is there, they can support the child with schoolwork and things like that. House chores, people can have division of labor, rather than just leave the mother to do the same thing. You go to, even in some office settings, okay, people expect, oh, if there's anything to do around catering, oh, the women. It's an automatic, you know, designation. So I think society needs to appreciate really what mothers are doing, understand that there are a lot of barriers. Women really go beyond some of those barriers and challenges to still be able to match those expectations.
What about respect?
Yeah, that's the appreciation.
Having done every other thing, what about respect?
I think that's the appreciation, but we must understand that respect is earned.
Yeah.
Respect is earned. And, you know, to motherhood is also about leadership. You find yourself, because if you don't have the leadership straight, you can't really put the entire team together. So it's understanding the best way to get the maximum from the people that look up to you as a mother. So respect is earned, and so if you're able to interact, and your relationship management, your emotional skills, intelligence skills are well aligned, you're more likely to get that respect. Yes.
Yeah, I asked that because respect is due to the person that is entitled. Most times women don't receive it, don't get it, even when it is due to them.
I don't think it's for women alone, frankly. Even some men don't get respect in their homes, So I think it's just around the human respect for one another, whether it's a woman or a man. And I don't think it's a gender-specific problem, in all honesty. But to your point, women will, of course, would like to be respected, especially women put in a lot. Women put in a lot. I mean, they are more likely to go the extra mile, to make the family together, put the family together, and except, of course, they don't feel appreciated, then perhaps they begin to pull back. But this is general, the exceptions to the rule. People will say not all women, and they will begin to point examples.
We are talking,
of course,
generally.
In general, yes, but there are always exceptions to the rule. But I always say, even those that are the exceptions, we need to understand the background. How did they arrive? Because naturally, women are born with that nurture in them. The female gender is born with a trait of nurturing, caring. That's a natural trait. And so when a female gender doesn't have that trait, whether it's animal, then there will be some things behind that, perhaps underlying issues that have, changed that pattern.
What's one thing you wish every mother knew about herself?
Oh, including me. So I think knowing your individual self, understanding who you are before you get into motherhood. And I don't think that we do have many mothers, I won't say all mothers, do not thoroughly introspect and prepare themselves for motherhood. I think the excitement about getting married, we just flow with the process. But being intentional, just the same way you be intentional about starting a career or trying to change a career, because really moving from single status to motherhood is a change of career, it's a change of status. How do you plan that transition? How do you prepare yourself? So first of all, just really understanding yourself. What are your goals? What are the things you want to do for yourself? Because all of that enables you begin to manage and begins to put the chest together.
And that's preparation.
Yes, that's preparation. And then when you get into the process, there's a chess game going on all the way. You're making, you're making sacrifices. You're changing places. You're moving north, back and forth. But staying on your goal so that at the end of the tunnel, you don't look back and say, I regret. I didn't achieve this, I didn't achieve that because...
Oh, I wasn't taught this.
A lot of times the regret comes because, I sacrificed myself because of you. I sacrificed my this because of my husband. But somehow, if perhaps we are able to have a lot more thought process, plan, not only with ourselves, we do need some help, external help, some mentorship. That helps you also determine who is the right person to work with you on that journey. Who is your go-to person? Someone who can always pull you back and say, oh, Gwen, you wanted to be this. This is what you wanted to achieve for yourself. And so you don't get at the end, of course, there will be some trade-offs, definitely, as you go along the line. But you trade off your entire life because of motherhood, then you're not fulfilled at the end of the process. Okay, so really understanding who we are and understand that helps us in the evolution as we transition and as we go through the entire process.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Gwen, how can we as a community do better in celebrating and uplifting women?
Excellent, because that's so important. Because I tell you the truth, if the Bible says that a prophet is not honored
in his
own place,
hometown.
So this is not something that starts today, and it's not a gender-specific issue. But I tell you, even if a woman is not honored within her community, but the larger society honors her, there's still some fulfillment. Then if she's honored within her community or within her home, but outside she's not honored, she still feels unfulfilled. So I think being recognized first as a mother, because society will not honor you except you've put yourself out there and you've demonstrated really that.
Yeah, you have to show.
Yes, so you must show up. And as you show up and create impacts, you know, you'll get that accolade.
Yeah.
You know, you may not get it in the places where you expect it, but somebody somewhere will see what you're doing. So really, it's just developing that culture of appreciation. And it's not only when the person dies, you begin to read nice tributes about the person, but while they're alive, what value are they adding? And so it encourages women, especially mothers, to keep, you know, contributing and making more
skilling up and
yes,
scaling up.
Yes.
And you have to try and be relevant wherever you find yourself, in whatever space you find yourself.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Gwen, finally, before we round up, I'm going to ask you a personal question. What do you do to prioritize self-care? How do you stay the way you are?
So I think the fear of illness,
okay,
yes, keeps me in check. Yeah. So I think there must be something that either motivates you or inspires you. So it's just that health consciousness. You know, what's the consequence if you're not health conscious? You may lose your health,
of course, and
your ability to be relevant. So I think that just keeps me in check. And I think every woman must have something that they really want, that really demotivates or motivates them. So basically, it's very important anyway that, you know, that aside, that we must be healthy for us to be relevant to our children.
To avoid burnout.
To avoid burnout. Of course we burn out. I mean, last week I was burnt out. And then this weekend I said to myself, no work. I didn't even respond. I'm sorry, Mother's Day greetings. I just responded to a few because I made up my mind I wasn't going to get to my phone.
Yeah, you have to know your limits.
Sometimes you just be intentional. I'm going to send out those messages later, and I will apologize to my few friends why they were late. But because I made up my mind that I was not going to be off my phone so that I could rest. And so being intentional, even when you have to make some sacrifices, you know, that's very important. But I think the health of every woman is very important. If you're not healthy, then you're not of use. You become a liability to people around you.
Thank you so much, Gwen, for putting up with me. It's been a great pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you.
But believe me, we would love to have you back for a more professional discussion that has to do with how the professional women survive, manage to balance between their careers, motherhood, and even self-care pursuit. So when that time comes, we'll still have a discussion. This is where we call it a wrap. Thank you so much for being in the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you feel terrified when speaking before a group? Are you stressed when asked to present? Do you bore people when speaking? Are you stuck with reading word for word? How do you give a speech with polish? Learn how at the School of Eloquence,
the home of public speaking. Attend our practical coaching in public speaking. Call 0802 303 2066 or log on to schoolofeloquence.org.
School of Eloquence, teaching the world to speak.
That's all for today's episode of Mighty Moms. We've explored the inspiring journey of Gwen Oloke and gained valuable insight into balancing career success with motherhood. I hope you feel empowered to pursue your own path with confidence and determination. Let's continue this conversation online. Follow at Achievement Channel on Instagram, Facebook, X and YouTube for more inspiring stories and practical tips. Use hashtag We See Possibilities and Mighty Moms Achieve to share your thoughts and experiences. Remember, your dreams are valid and your strength as a mother is a superpower. You can achieve greatness in all areas of your life. Stay inspired, stay focused, and keep seeing possibilities on the Achievement Channel, where we see possibilities.